Welcome everyone to the WeirdSpeak podcast. I'm one of the hosts, Bo, and I'm here with the first ever episode and my two co-hosts, Eliott and Julien.
Hello, I'm Eliott.
Hey guys, I'm Julien.
So the first thing that we wanted to do today was just kind of explain why we wanted to personally start this podcast and what makes us and inspires us to keep going with this and make more episodes. And I'll give you guys my reason first is I don't know, I think there's just something so personal about getting to hear someone's voice and also getting to know them not just face to face but behind the computer screen, because that's when true personalities come out.
I love that. I think
Absolutely, amen.
Yeah. Julien, do you want to go?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm Julien. One of my biggest reasons for starting, really just kind of for even considering any of this, is I just love hearing a good story. It don't matter what the story's about, how it ends, because any version of said story is going to be a good story to me. So yeah, it's just hearing stories is my big cause for anything.
I love that too. All right, so I'm Eliott. Honestly, I wanted to start this podcast because honestly, it's just an excuse to hang out with my two best friends. A little more because obviously life goes by so fast, and I feel like we get spread out more and more, depending on where we're living and just what we're doing all the time with work and all that. So I think this is just a really good excuse to hang out and talk to each other even more than we already do. And hopefully we can just be our natural selves and have some weird conversations.
Well, I was thinking that we could do some of these my first time ever tags, this tag that I found online, because I think that they're so fun and it just gives the viewers some fun stuff to know about us, as well as we already introduced ourselves, and then we can kind of talk about how we met and our favorite memories.
Yeah, definitely. And real quick, I just want to let everyone who's listening know the reason we're doing a audio podcast on a call is because we're currently getting a little area set up for a video podcast, but we're just figuring it all out. So ignore the technical
2020,
difficulties.
give us a break.
What's that?
It's 2020. Give us a break.
Yeah, literally. And we'll figure it out together.
COVID's got us.
Yeah, we're gonna figure it out together. And let's just get into this episode and cut out all the areas that are completely messed up.
So while we're waiting for Julien to jump back in on his phone, we can just go ahead and talk about how me and Eliott became fast friends and how we grew up and how everything happened like that.
Yeah, definitely. Do you want to start on how we met, or do you want me to? Actually, I have a really fun idea. I want to hear your side of it and then my side of it.
Okay, yeah, let's do it. So Eliott has an older sister, and me, Bo, I have an older brother. And growing up, we had no idea either of us existed until our brother and our sister got together in high school and they went to prom. And at prom, before prom, they were taking pictures and stuff. So me and my mom and my brother, we drove over to Eliott's house where his sister was. And I remember running down the street because I was told that there was she had a little brother, and I was like, oh my gosh, I need to meet him. And I was like, because we're gonna be family for the rest of our lives. I just knew it. So when we got there, Eliott was running around with this other person, and I was like, okay, cool, chill. I'll just find him when I find him. And then it wasn't until the next week that we finally met, and then we just became best friends forever, essentially.
Yes, that's literally how I remember it too. Okay, so I'm gonna tell my story, my side of it. So I was hanging out with one of my friends, no idea who it was because it was so long ago. Um, but I remembered, I remember turning the corner of the street and I was like, who is jumping on my trampoline right now? And so I I
God.
was a little freaked out, but also like, oh, she's probably fine. Like at least she's not some boring sister. So I do remember when we first started hanging out, it was all Monster High, Monster High, Monster High. Um, and so that's pretty much how I remember
Oh
our
yeah.
beginnings. So now I want to get into how Bo and Julien met, and then after that, we can get into how Julien and I met.
Mm, mm, mm. How Bo and Julian met as a. Whew, I just want to make sure. Are we like how PG? I guess are we keeping this?
It's not
Oh
even
my
that bad of
god!
a story. Jesus, you're making it sound like it's X-rated.
I think.
I'm not
I
editing
mean,
this out.
okay, no, that's fine. All right, so we met so we met on Tinder, right? Like I was on there, like honest to God, I was on there for like I was such a person. I was on there just for gags to see like if there are ugly people around and what they look like. It was so horrible. I was such a shitty person back then. And I saw her out of nowhere and I saw this picture. She was like by this little teeny tiny goat.
It was a picture of her at goat yoga.
A goat yoga, yeah. So she's at the goat yoga that his aunt performed or did with the little goats. And I saw it and I was like, wow, that's an incredible looking woman. Let me just see if I even hear from her at all. So guys on Tinder, you don't really hear from any entity, anything, unless it's like a bot, like, hey, want cam sex? So we went through, so she was actually the first one to send me a message. Like, I think like a week later, like, what the hell? Why didn't you message me first? And I was wowed by that. Like, damn, she messaged me first. Am I important something? And about a month later, she moved into my mom's house with me. And 2 months later, we were engaged, married, Cyprus. Here we are.
I want to hear Bo, just like, I mean, I'm sure it's not that different, but it would be really interesting to hear, like, just your first date and little things.
Oh, the first dates.
Oh man. Okay. Yeah, let's talk about it. So if whoever's listening to this does not know what Tinder is a dating slash hookup app. And a lot of people just think that you're looking at people for like hookups, and it's not usually used for dating, like it says. And I, being naive, well, Bo, was like, oh, I'll just go on there and see if I can find anyone good. And like, I had gone on like Meet Me, random like kick chats. I did like a bunch of stuff. I even tried like Facebook dating. None of it went
Oh,
well except for Reddit.
Kick was
Facebook
the worst.
dating.
So, so I was like just swiping through all of these guys, and I think like a few of them had messaged me, but then Julien like super liked me. And I was like, oh my gosh, she must be like super interested. So I like waited about an hour after he super liked me, and I got like really frustrated because he didn't message me back. And he acts like I sent him this like paragraph that was like, hello, kind sir, like please date me. No, it was like a hey message.
I am very curious. What was Julian's picture like?
Um it was like a picture with friends. And like I know he had like a few pictures of himself, and he looked very attractive. I think he also had like a meme in his like thing. So I was like,
Honestly, I was expecting it to only be a meme.
surprisingly not. No. And then we started talking. I gave him my phone number, and then about 2 weeks later, after like starting to talk and making sure he wasn't like a psychopath who was gonna like murder me, I called him and I was like, "Hey, do you want to come on a date with me and like my two best friends with their boyfriends?" And it was Connor and Annika. Eliott, just so you know.
Oh,
So he came to see Annabelle Creation with us at the movies. And their boyfriends didn't end up showing up.
oh
The only one out of the bunch to
no.
arrive.
That is so embarrassing.
So it was just me and him like cuddling and going on this like first date. And then like a day later, we went on like this 16-hour long date to this place called Eliott's. And it's really cool. It's like an amusement park, and we got Taco Bell, and we got one on like all the cool rides. Amazing, but super long. And I
Eliot's
really
is a
feel like,
great date place.
yes, I really feel like going there is like what made us stick together through like the rough patches of like our relationship. So that's cool.
That is cool.
Oh.
I feel like I knew half of that story, but I was just really curious to hear a little bit more about it.
Yeah,
Um,
of course. All
but
right, now I want to
also,
hear how you guys like what your perspectives are on meeting each other because I introduced you guys.
yeah, and I almost completely forgot about that because I'm just so into how you guys met. Um, but so I remember meeting Julien at kickboxing. I think Bo and I were about to go grab a smoothie, and he tagged along. Obviously, he was very nice. He was very shy and quiet. Um, and I'm pretty sure he just came from work or something because you were in some kind of work outfit. Um,
God, I was.
it was yeah, like some I don't know jumpsuit, but it wasn't like an everyday thing that I saw you. Um, but it was very chill, and I think it took a long time to really kind of accept you in just because I'm not very trusting of most people, especially when I haven't known them very long. Um, but I obviously was not going to be some person who just shuts you out because I'm not like that. So, yeah, I feel like it was a really nice introduction. I feel like we definitely know more about each other now, and we're not as awkward as before. Um, but it definitely took some time. And I also connect with. I feel like I don't connect with guys very well. Because growing up, all my friends were girls, so that was also kind of a weird thing. But let me hear your perspective.
No, so believe it or not, actually, that's something you have in common because Bo and I were going through my old Facebook messages, and a lot of these conversations that I had, I didn't realize it at the time, but I've been having these like odd flirtatious conversations with girls and not even realizing what I have. And I don't know, just like I was just like this goofy little fucking player kid with these squinty eyes. And so to come from that and then just to kind of meet somebody who didn't just talk to women just to like to be exploitive, right? Like that was honestly awesome to see. Awesome to kind of really have that trust in like in another guy, you know.
It's definitely weird because like I said, I didn't hang out with a lot of guys. So it was kind of like, how is he gonna be? Because most men suck. Just in general.
God, the toxic masculinity too. And I grew up around a lot of that, and at first I kind of resisted it. I think it wasn't until I met Bo that I really kind of came into my element. I was like, you know what? Screw this like regular idea of of masculinity. If me being a man means I get to like dance around like a little fairy sometimes, then hell yeah, absolutely. I'm here for it. I think that was
I
something that was like excited me about you.
I definitely did not, yeah, sense that at all. Any toxicness or anything, but I think for a while it was kind of hard because I didn't want to like exclude you from hanging out. But obviously we still had to get to know each other. So like we didn't have the same inside jokes and stuff, but I'm really glad that you're into our inside jokes now. And it's just the conversation just flows easier. And another reason why I wanted to start the podcast is just because it gives us more of an excuse to hang out.
Yeah. Well, before we jump into the next topic, I also wanted to like just say like it was really interesting to like see your dynamic grow and change from like first of like introducing you guys and like seeing like some of the like two most important like people in my life like grow and come together was like really cool. And like both of you have like had such a significant like change or meaning, like both of you have like really changed like my view on like my depression and like my anxiety and like growing up with like kind of some toxic people in my life. Like you guys both made me grow and like realize that I deserved more than that. So it was really cool to see you guys like come together and like kind of both support me.
I like how when we all talk over each other, then we all mute and then no one's talking.
It's just so great.
I am laughing so hard.
It happened again. Man.
We're so polite.
So, did you have a next conversation point, or do we just want to go on a stream of consciousness?
Let's go on that first time ever thing. All
Oh yeah,
right.
I actually completely forgot about that. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. I forgot about it until like a couple minutes ago. All right. Do we want to go like daring with these, or do we want to go like kind of on the easier side?
Is there a way to spice it up after a couple?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, make it spicy. Just give us the spicy
Um,
in the middle.
all right. Um, yeah, so the first one is your first fear. My first fear was of like the ocean and sharks.
My first fear, I remember watching Batman as a kid, and the Scarecrow who would make you see your worst fears as like hallucinations and stuff. I always kind of wanted that fear gas on myself because I did not know what my fear was for a long time, and maybe that's a good thing. But the first one I can vividly remember is obviously spiders because in seventh grade I was drinking hot chocolate, and in my hot chocolate was a spider, and I didn't realize it until it was in my mouth.
Jesus Christ.
So that's where arachnophobia started for me. I check my bed nightly. And yeah, how about you, Julian?
Y'all make me feel like some kind of fucking like hearted old man through a veteran crisis. Because my first fear was kidnapping, was being kidnapped.
I'm laughing at the
All
fact that I never thought of that.
oh my god, y'all got like spiders, like fear of sharks, like reasonable things, and be like, oh, I'm afraid of being like 14 trillion that get kidnapped in a year. Holy fuck. I'm sorry, guys.
That definitely scares me too, though, nowadays, because I'm more aware of everything. Yeah, it's a creepy thought.
That's why it's just so horrifying. I'm so sorry. God, I feel like such an old man sometimes.
Oh well, what's the next one?
Alright, so jumping forward, I guess we can do like a your first thing and then we'll do like the most recent one. So we can do like the most recent fear. And so for mine is like being late to work.
Oh, I can't stress this enough. Okay,
Mm.
this I just got my first job, obviously, like just a month ago. So I've been having like anxiety sleep where I can't sleep through the night because I'm scared I'm gonna wake up late for work. Um, you know, so that is actually my most that is, that is actually my most recent fear.
My God. Yes to the anxiety. Being late for work. That is a wonderful fear. God, I hate being late for work. And then, like, having to come up with some dumbass excuse or just say, I'm late. Sorry, I'm here now. Like, holy shit.
I honestly, yeah, I've never been late because obviously it's only been a month, but yeah, it's a it's a creepy thought and definitely such a adult problem to have. Um, Although I don't know if you'd call it an adult problem because I got friends who are younger than me who have jobs. Um, I just knew that when I was in high school, I did not want to have a job to worry about and homework, just because I heard too many stories about how that works out. Um,
I'm
so I
glad
waited till
you listened.
graduation.
I'm so glad.
Yeah, I'm very glad I did not do that.
It's too stressful. Like, can you imagine this on top of, school? Especially high school and like your senior or junior year is like the most important year realistically. So no way for me.
Speaking of which, this is just a random
Man.
question because I like to say things before I forget them, obviously. Um, which high school year was your favorite?
Oh, that's a good one. I think it was between my sophomore year and my senior year. Because my freshman year and my junior year were both really rough and rocky.
That was a more intelligent answer than I was going to say. I was about to be like, 2014, that's the year I graduated.
I have no idea what you just said.
He
No,
said
you
he
said like
graduated in 2014.
favorite high school year, the year 2014. The year I graduated, that's the year I'm favoriting.
Oh my gosh, that is such a
No,
weird
that's
thought that you
yeah,
graduated.
I
That you.
know, right? Nah, I would gotta say my senior year because nah, like they ain't gonna take my second period from me. That is a free period. I ain't doing no damn fucking teacher's aid, none of that. I want my free time. And then I think it was what is it, my seventh period class. I was failing anyway. And then they told me if your grade is below a 50%, there is no reason for you to show up to class anymore. I said, I bet I don't even need this to graduate. So I just stopped going to that class from that day forward. That's that's what it was. Senior year. That was super fun.
I was never bold enough to do that. But yeah, I don't know. Senior year was not my favorite. Just because it's 2020. um, but it's definitely gotten better. Um,
I think it must have been interesting to go through that experience of like seeing the world so drastically change while you're in high school. Like we think back on the days when, like, the, like, world wars were happening, and there were, like, high school students essentially just, like, jumping ship on school and going to war, and, like, well, it wasn't, like, that bad, essentially. It was still, like, there was a world pandemic going on, and you had to switch from being in high school and going to high school every day during the week to all of a sudden you're at home and you have no contact with anybody. And I know my senior year was, like, huge to be in contact with people because, like, I was like, I never know when I'm gonna see you again after this.
Yeah, it's definitely hard. I was just praying for
Mhm.
the ceremony day because I needed those pictures with my friends and I needed them to sign my yearbook, even though people don't really sign yearbooks anymore. I still love it so much because it's just all my friends are so um they're so sweet and they write a little personal message that I love looking back on and reading, and it kind of shows you who your friends were at that time. But yeah, it was definitely a weird change. And I think my transition from middle school to high school was pretty hard. Freshman year was just nice because it was a lot of those same friends who moved over to the same school with me. But yeah, senior year was just not it. So that's why I think freshman year was a little more fun, especially because you were there for that 1 year, which was super exciting. Um, Although it seemed to go by so fast.
And it was so scary, like, literally everything happened your freshman year of, like, high school. I can't even believe that that's your favorite, because, like, we had a bomb scare, we had a high school shooting scare, we had, like, 6 other things go on, and I remember, like, running through the halls to try and find you, and I just couldn't find you, and, like, I was, like, questioned on the way out, like, "Hey, where are you going?" I was like, "I'm going home, I'm not staying here for the school to get shut up." I was like, "I'm not doing it."
It was I it's so weird. In the moment, I think of all the bad things that are happening, like, even at work, now that I compare it, it's like I'm thinking of all the people who are not doing what they're supposed to, that you forget about the good, and then it's kinda weird, maybe I sugarcoat it too much, but for freshman year, I completely forgot about those things happening, and I'm glad you remember, though, to kinda ground me, but I think sometimes
Yeah.
when I think about the past, sometimes I just oversaturate it and think, "Oh, such a glorious time and nothing was wrong." Obviously, there's always something going wrong. It's just this year was probably just a little more it was more heavy.
Oh, yeah,
But yeah,
100%.
freshman year, oh my gosh, I can't believe I forgot some of those things.
Alright, are we ready for the next question, guys?
Yes, sorry, I went on a
Okay.
rant.
Yes,
No,
dude.
we're
No,
good.
I love you. I love you too. I love you both.
Glad we are alive, throughout it all,
Thank goodness.
especially freshman year.
Yes. Alright, the next one is my first time on a plane. My first time on a plane was actually coming out to Colorado with my parents, so not too exciting. I think it was like a Southwest flight, so just nothing crazy.
So my first time on a plane was on my way to boot camp where I was there for like not even 6 weeks. I don't know why I tried to say 6 weeks, 6 days of boot camp, and then I got sent back home because of my stupid migraines, and they also diagnosed me with some kind of breathing problem. Ridiculous. But anyway, yeah, that's that's my first time on a plane.
Mine was going to Las Vegas for the first time. I love Las Vegas so much, and I remember puking because, of course, but that is the only time I've puked on a plane, thankfully.
Do you think it's because, like, you usually get car sick?
It was because, of the landing, the way it moved my
Oh, no.
stomach. Yeah. The way it moved my stomach, it just made me puke, and thankfully I had one of those bags handy. Um, but ever since then, I'm good.
Jeez. Yeah, no, I get you. I mean, Vegas is beautiful with all the lights up. my family and I think we went like literally weeks before, like I think maybe it was like a few days actually before I left for the Navy. We drove to Vegas, stayed for like 2 or 3 nights, and it was amazing. Aside from like little like dumb incidents that happened, but you know what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas.
Of course.
I've never been. I can't join that club yet.
Soon.
My brother literally, no, you know what? I was about to tell a story
Listen,
I was
what
telling about
happens in
Vegas.
Vegas stays in Vegas.
Don't tell other people's stories. That's
Yeah,
not
that's
how it
their
works.
story.
It's kind of my story though too.
No.
I mean,
All right, I have the next question, guys. It's gonna be a little risque before we get into the most risque of them all. All
Oh
right,
gosh.
your first swear word. Mine was the F word. If you don't count crap. And I was out with my friends, and they were like, "It's okay, just say it." I was like, "Okay, cool," and then I just dropped it.
That is so funny that you remember that moment. Go, Julien.
all right. That would sound like a shitty person, and I apologize in advance, especially if we have younger viewers. So, I don't remember my first swear word because I just like ended up becoming a swearing person, but I do remember my very first hard R in front of my family. Oh my god, I was such an idiot as a kid. My sister, for some reason, thought it was a good idea to directly tell my brother and I exactly what bad words you're not allowed to say. Like, don't you say Fuck, and then like she'd actually say it. And be like, don't you say that word and all the other words. And my brother said one word, and I was like, that's a swear word, N word. And I didn't know it was a bad thing to say, or it was that bad to say. I told my sister had to tell me right then and there how terrible of a person I am. That's what I clearly remember. Is I don't remember ever not swearing, honestly.
I I have a similar experience. Um, well, when I was growing up, not that long ago, obviously, but I wasn't allowed to say freaking. My friends said, and then I said it once, and my parents were
I
like, "Yeah,
remember this.
it's not like the best word." And so I was like, "Okay, I guess I can't use that." Um, I don't remember the first time I swore. I just remember the first time I swore and decided I never would again, was because one time I was playing basketball with my mother and sister, and I
Oh,
did say the and I did say the N-word, and that is before I even knew what it meant, or like I didn't know anything about it at all. Um, and so quickly I learned never to say it. And it was just a learning experience. I was literally in 7th grade. That is the only time I remember saying a word that it's just a lesson I learned forever.
Eliott, I don't know if you remember this, but one time we were getting off the trampoline in your backyard, and you must have stepped on something because you hurt yourself. And I just remember you saying, "This hurts like a bitch."
Why do I kind of remember that? It might have been I think I remember. Um, oh my gosh, that's so funny. It's like starting to come to me.
This was.
Sorry, repeat what you said?
Oh, we were hanging out with Asia at the time.
Then I definitely know what this was about. So I stepped on a
Yeah.
dead bee. Um, and it was like, I don't know, it was either on the porch or in the grass or something. But
It was
yeah,
the grass. I remember because you ran over to the porch and you were like
oh
hopping
my
on one
god.
leg.
Oh man. as soon as you said step on a bee, Bo looked at me, gave me this look like I know exactly what story you're going to tell. And what I'm going to tell you is the only time I have ever been stung by anything. And it's in a place where those things should not be. So, the very first time I ever got stung was by a wasp. And I was in my bedroom in the middle of winter inside of a pair of pants that have never seen the light of day ever. I put them on and I felt like something poke me, so I'm like, I must have gotten a piece of wood in here somehow because we had poor quality stuff. And I finally get down to where it was and I look down and I see just neon yellow and black and twitching. I threw Bo saw me. Bo saw this and she she got to witness my very first ever sting, and a lot of firsts happened from then forward. I'm sorry I went on a long one, but yeah. That's the first time I ever got stung. That should not have happened.
No, I'm definitely listening intently. That sounds horrible.
My first time being stung, if we're gonna go on this, was like I was like at this person's like land with my family, and we were like crossing over the river, and my brother and my sister were there, and my brother was chasing me across the bridge, and I tripped and I fell into a tree. And all I remember after that was like the bee stinging me on my arm, and then the next day like my arm was like swollen up to like my elbow, and it hurt so bad, and we had to like go get antibiotics, and that's the day we found out that I'm like severely allergic. So that's fun.
Oh my gosh. Never knew that story, but that's very funny.
Fun with a jerk. This will be the last one. Okay, we're gonna do like a sad one for the last one, but it's also like kind of risque. So this is
Oh?
gonna be your first heartbreak. But this can also be like, it doesn't have to be like a relationship. It can also be like a friendship breakup. Um, so whatever you guys want to do.
Give
But
me a second to like think about
so
it.
yeah, I'm gonna tell my story first. And then you guys can go so you can think about it. So my first heartbreak was definitely with a friend. Her name was Avery. Um, and she was just kind of a jerk. And like she like accused me of all this like random stuff, like stuff that never would happen, that she just thought was like okay to accuse somebody of. And like also she was like kind of mean to me, and like she definitely like would like just want to be friends at like home. She wouldn't want to be friends at school because I was getting bullied at school, and she thought that like that would mean that she would get bullied at school too, even though it totally didn't. Like you would never get bullied at school just because you knew someone. That's ridiculous. Um,
Definitely toxic.
finally, yeah, definitely. I was like, no, yeah, no, I don't like want to be with you anymore. And then like my first real ever like heartbreak uh, was with this guy. He was like the most toxic person I ever knew. Like turned out to be someone psycho. Um, was when I was like 15, and you know we'd known each other for like about a year, and I was like starting to get to the point where I was like, yeah, I'm ready to like break up with you. But then I was like, oh, like I don't know, like maybe I should stay with this person. Um, And then there was just one day where it's like, I just need like a break. I like just don't want to talk to you for today because you're kind of being toxic, and you're making me not want to eat food, and I don't want that to be in my head. Um, and they just broke up with me like over a text. They're like, cool, if you want a break, like we're done. And I was like, okay, that really hurt my feelings. And then I proceeded to like not eat for the next day, or like, and then like I was just crying in my own room, and like my whole family had to like come up and comfort me. But that was definitely hard to go through. Like I wasn't expecting like my first breakup like to hurt that bad.
I definitely remember that. Just because I remember coming over and a ton of people were in your room, and I was like, "What's even happening?" I was I don't think I was, um, in middle school yet. I'm not sure. Um, Definitely still too
I think
young.
middle school, we were, like, in 6th grade or something, but, like, I just remember, like, wanting to protect you from that because I was like, I don't want him to, like, know what I went through, but at the same time, like, I don't want him to be like, "Well, what the what the heck is wrong with her?"
Right. I remember, yeah, I wasn't really allowed in your room that day just because everyone was trying to chill. I was definitely 6th grader, somewhere around there. But
Told you
yeah.
sick. Do you remember that? And my sister brought me up the laptop with movies because I was like, "I don't feel good."
Yes, I was told you were sick, yeah.
Yeah, definitely remember that.
Yeah, I again, one of those moments where I was just, like, too young to be like, "Can I help you?" Instead, I was like, "I guess I'll wait downstairs."
Oh God, I'm so sorry. I've first heartbreak. Whew. I think the worst, like my biggest like real heartbreak really had to be, oh my God, I'm trying to remember if it was like a girl or a dog first. I feel like it was a
Sorry,
dog.
wait, did you say a girl or a dog?
Yeah, a girl or a
Oh.
dog. It was,
Yes,
I'm
yes.
sorry, I'm trying to connect some points here. I believe it was, you know what? It was a dog first. It was Teddy. So Teddy was he was like a border collie black lab mix. So he was just this cute little like black and white randomly floofy dog. And some random neighbor was just getting rid of him, just trying to get rid of this dog because they don't know how to control it. So we're like, okay, bet we'll take him. I think we gave her like $20 for this dog. And so we brought in this mutt from basically like the backwoods of like Henderson, and he was. I think at that point we got him at 6 months old, and we had him for only about a year, so he would have been maybe almost 2 years old. And what we're assuming happened is that a neighbor poisoned some meat and then threw it over the fence, and then he ate it, swallowed it, and died from the poison.
I've definitely heard stories of
Yeah.
that.
And God, he was such a sweet little dog. I felt so bad for him one time. He almost like burned his tail off because we had one of these like old school like heaters where it like just flicked a open flame right there in front of you, and it just blew the heat from the open flame out in your general vicinity. Basically, just like having a fireplace in your like right in front of you. And so we had one of those running, and he ran by and swooshed his little tail, and the tip of his tail caught on fire. I mean, like they took it out quickly as they could, and it didn't do any real damage aside to his fur. Poor guy, he was like afraid of those things. And then he died, I think, like days after that happened. It's horrible. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. That's depressing as shit. I'm sorry.
Dang, yeah. That was oh, he's gone. He's like, that was too deep.
He's off crying.
Was that just too deep for you? You just couldn't.
No, I didn't leave 'cause I was crying. No, I keep dropping my device, and then it somehow hangs up the call. I think maybe I accidentally keep touching it. So I'm gonna try not to set it down that hard. That was my fault. That was actually my fault. My bad.
All
All
right,
right.
Eliott, your turn.
All right. This is gonna be so much fun. Um, so I can't really actually, yeah. My first one was probably a dog too, just because we had a golden retriever that we gave away.
I love
Um, but
I know him, but I loved him.
Yeah, I feel like I didn't know him either because I was so young when we had him, and then we gave him away because we couldn't take care of him anymore. It was super sad just because at the time I was close with him, but now looking back, I'm like, I don't know a thing about him. Now I have 2 dogs, which is cool, but my first real heartbreak was probably in middle school just 'cause, that was also the time when I first found love. La, la, la. Um,
Aww.
but it ended up really badly, and it just turned into this thing that continued for years and years, and it really there was never any, like, closure, which is why it's been definitely hard to get over, um, especially, this senior year. It's just been like, "Oh my gosh, too much nostalgia," um, and then, yeah, it just keeps getting dragged out and out. So that was definitely it, and because it's been such a long, like, heartbreak thing, um and like I said, first love and then that extended heartbreak, it's like, why? It's so weird. But that was definitely it, and it feels like it's never really over.
Wow. Say, I feel you almost to a T, which is kind of frightening because I also had a like senior year, like tough, horrible first love situation happen. Sounds pretty similar. And my situation was like I met this girl, admittedly in kind of a shitty way. I was actually at another girlfriend's sister's party when I
Be
met
careful
this
what you
girl.
say.
No, I was again, I was a completely terrible person back then, didn't realize it. So I'll let all my dirt slip out. I was a piece of crap. What was it? So I met this girl, and next thing I know, I'm like head over heels in love. Like it was unfortunate. I ended up bragging a little, and then talked to my girlfriend about it, and I was like, oh, well, I honestly don't feel anything for you, but I feel something for. Okay, whatever. Again, terrible thing, terrible person. But that happened, and that was actually probably one of it was at the time the best relationship in my life. Like one where I'd had like the most, I guess, experimentation, so forth, more like getting used to each other physically kind of love. And then out of nowhere, I was actually starring in a play in theater at high school. And opening night for my final performance, she hadn't been to any of my performances. She was supposed to be there tonight. She messaged me and she was like, my mom said I've been on cloud nine. I need to break up with you. Don't ever speak to me again. End of story. And
Whoa.
that, yeah, was the last I heard from this woman. Like someone I had loved deeply, just up and vanished for like no reason.
Would you classify that as first love? Hello?
Oh, sorry, I'm muted. Anyway, I would say definitely a first love, but more or less like a first introduction to love. Like I saw what benefits it could have, and then decided after that was taken away that it was no longer for me. And then all the experimentation came out, blah blah blah. We'll get into that as we get closer. And then came along Bo, and now here I am. I'm happy. I'm happier now than I've ever been. And relationship wise, I mean, I've found my match, my exact match.
Eliott, I just have so many questions about like this relationship because I feel like I barely knew anything about it. Like I feel like you told me like snippets here and there, but like I just have like so many more questions.
I heavily relate because I feel like I was so young throughout most of our friendship to the point where we didn't have those conversations about relationships, and now I'm like super
Yeah.
interested. So now we gotta go like take a little time machine back and yeah.
Do you want to do that right now? Just like ask a few questions. Like this will be like our the like more risque part of the podcast.
Let me get situated.
All right. Any of our younger listeners who are listening right now, I'm going to tell you right now that we're going to be talking about some topics that are not generally friendly for myself. I don't know about Eliott's, but I know for myself, I do talk about some like abuse and some not friendly things. So if you're not ready for this is your trigger warning. This is your warning to stop watching here if that stuff bothers you in any way, shape, or form.
I'm really
Oh,
oh
that stuff. Okay. 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 I thought you meant like darker humor. No, we're cool. We're cool. We're square. I got
okay, well I'm glad you did a little trigger warning, but I'm just gonna let you know
Yes.
right now. Probably our younger viewers turned off when the swearing begun.
Oh yeah.
you. I mean, I'm sorry. I'm a swearer, but I can take things seriously. I promise you.
It's okay, we just lost them forever. It's no big deal.
Good night.
Anyways, do you have a question first, Bo? Because now that I'm on the spot, I can't think of any.
Okay, so I think Julian's gonna sit back because he hasn't. I mean, he knows most of the stuff, but if he has any questions, he can just type them in the chat. But he'll be mainly listening for this part of the podcast. I guess,
Gotcha.
yeah.
I'm out. Peace.
Um, I guess my first real question was like, so when did it start, and like, what kind of relationship was it, and is it someone I know?
Definitely not someone you know. Just because I went
Ooh,
to middle school with her. Um, but it was just kind of like a friendship thing, and then it never got to turn into more, which sucks because I think it could have. Um, it was definitely like it felt like it. Um, and we just went on so many amazing like adventures, such as a Washington DC trip that we took with our
oh,
class.
that's right. I forgot about that.
Yeah, and that was the first time I went to Terror in the Corn, which was super
Yeah,
fun. I think that's a great first date spot.
yeah.
So it was just like really significant moments that also happened at the same time that just like now they're attached to that. Um, and I connect the two. Yeah, definitely not someone you know, but it definitely started in um, 8th grade and just kind
Yeah.
of went on until senior year. And now I'm like starting to find that closure finally.
Do you feel like it was harder to like get the closure because like you didn't feel like it was like a real relationship?
I feel like it was harder to find closure because of the fact that none of my texts were being answered anymore,
Oh my
which
gosh.
it just sucks because I was just trying to talk and like I just want to know if she felt like the same way I felt um back then. Um and just for it to be dragged out so long with no closure and no like we're done was super weird. But like I said, for the first time ever, I can say it's getting better.
Uh, I know that like we both struggled with some really really heavy stuff like growing up, like not necessarily like that either of our parents caused, but like my parents caused them, but like just like other stuff. Um, like I know I struggled really bad with like depression and suicidal thoughts and all this scary stuff and eating disorders. Mental health is
Yeah.
really important to talk about, and I feel like for a really long time it was like stigmatized as like a don't talk about it, you should know how to deal with it in my family. Instead of being like a, oh, we should talk about this.
Right, yeah. And I think, like you said, it's nothing that our families caused or anything. It's more so just growing up, and just experiencing maybe too much at once, and it kinda led to a lot. So I'm just curious about some of not that I wanna bring up bad memories,
No,
but
no,
I'm
no. I'm
curious.
excited for you to ask because like I don't know what you're about to say because I don't remember how much you remember because I don't know how much I told you because I knew that there was like some stuff that I was like I don't know if Elliott's ready to hear that yet, and like I don't want to like pressure him into thinking like bad stuff is cool or
Yeah,
doing stupid
exactly.
things is cool.
Yeah, so I guess my only question really, like, because it kinda depends. Some things, obviously, I forget, and then you tell me, and I'm like, "Oh, I kinda remember that." Um, but I'm just curious, like, what your most toxic relationship was, um, just because I don't know, I feel like that's a gray area on the map that I don't know about.
Yeah, absolutely. So do you remember Zach?
Yes.
Yes. So that was my most toxic relationship.
Wait. Australian?
Yes.
Okay, then yeah. Okay,
Did
yes,
I ever
very much
tell you
so.
about, like, the FBI part of that story?
Yes,
Okay.
but it wasn't a
So,
lot.
if you kind of piece together those puzzle pieces, it kinda leads up to why it was so toxic and why it was so bad. Um, so the main problem with it was, like, at that age, I was doing some really stupid stuff online, and I was going on, like, Omegle and just stupid stuff like that, and, like so,
Oh, maybe.
um So when I went on there, I would like talk to these people and stuff. And then one night I met Zach and I was like, okay, like he'll just be like a friend or whatever. And then we just started like talking over Kick. And Kick is kind of like a more private platform. Like none of your messages are pretty much saved. Like we always had it on like the one that was like not saved, and looking back now and like pictures, I remember being like, wow, we were talking about like that stuff at that time, and like this is your last trigger warning, everybody. So if you're not
Right.
cool with stuff, turn it off now. So at this point in time, I was like for some reason interested in the 50 Shades of Grey books, 50 Shades of Grey movies, and I thought it was cool to talk about like BDSM with guys and doing like kinky stuff with guys. And like I talked a big talk, but like my walk was nothing. Like so like cuz I had nothing to go off of. Like I was still like a virgin. I was a minor. Like I think like legally in the state that we're in, like you're not allowed to consent until you're 16, and I was at the age of like 14 or 15 when I was talking to this person. And so like I wasn't even at the age of consent yet to like be even talking about this stuff. And so like when it started to get more serious and like the BDSM kind of topics started to turn into like toxic, it started to become like a situation of, you know, if you don't do this, you're gonna get punished, and like if you don't do this, you're gonna be like a horrible person, um, and like just not really being in like a good environment, I guess. And
Right.
got to the point where he was threatening like my parents and like my loved ones and even like you, and I was so like protective over that, and like that was like my one thing that like that crossed the line for me. So when it
I'm
finally got to that point and I felt like there was no other option, I did some stupid things, and I made some stupid decisions, and then I kinda learned from those mistakes, like, after we broke up, And I realized, like, wow, like, you're not supposed to do that. That can get you into a lot of trouble. Or, like, if you're not at the age of consent, like, you're not supposed to do that or talk about those certain things, like, unless you're in, like, a good environment and you have people that support you and, like, you have a lot of things. So the day that you came over, um, and I was really upset was, like, it was also the day that I found out that, like, not only, like, was my heart broken, but, like, there were, like, revenge porn pictures of me online. So, that was not great to know. Um, and so that's what the whole FBI thing was about. And so that's kind of where all the gray area comes in. And now that you're old enough
Right.
to know about it, like, here it all is.
See, that's the stuff never knew. Um, I didn't know. I thought the FBI stuff was just because he was. I don't know what he was threatening to do. I just knew it was some kind of threat. And that's why I was like, why did they show up? you
Yeah,
know.
no, it was way crazier than that. And, looking back, like, I'm like, wow, like, Cody knew nothing.
What's really interesting though is that me at that age, it's just like I was so far from thinking about any of that stuff. Um,
That was, like, the last thing on your mind, right?
yeah, it wasn't even in my mind. I was just having a good time at 14 and 15. I was like, I was still oblivious, which is sometimes okay, sometimes fun. Um,
I am gonna
but
have, Julien come back in and talk about, like, his perspective on, like, hearing that whole story again, because he's one of the few people who, like, knew that whole story.
yeah, I didn't even know he knew that whole story. So yeah, I'm
Yes.
very interested.
Yeah, oh my god, what an opening line for her to start off. Like, that's the very first thing she tells me is, "Hey, so by the way, I've been in contact with the FBI before, and they put a guy in jail." So she was very willing with that information with me somehow, just from that first message. Now, at first, I was like, "Wow, Quirkmaster 8000, I'm here with it." And so yeah, so I continued to talk with her, and then I ended up when I don't think I realized just how serious I was about her until I met her. Because like over text, she was great. She was awesome to talk to. Like not like in a sexy kind of way, like from how you normally pick up through that, but like the more sophisticated kind of like, yeah, I like, you treat women like people kind of thing, that that thing. When you're actually respectful, it feels amazing. Believe it or not, a lot of guys need that. Like I needed that when I was that age. Imagine how many more guys need that. They're stupider than I am. So anyway, sorry, all men jokes aside. So at that point, that's when I realized, she's terrific. I want to be with her for the rest of my life, and that's how Bo and I have made this relationship last through living with family so many times, and this dead and that dead, and everything's terrible, but we have each other.
Right now, I was gonna ask, how has that experience changed relationships for you now?
Yeah, absolutely. I've noticed one big thing is, like, I have a lot of, like, trust issues, that I try to, like, to hide, um, a lot, like, when I'm meeting new people and stuff, because it's almost like some people are, like, two-faced to me. And, you know, I can see one side of them when I first meet them, but then, like, later on, they could change and, like, completely do a 160. Um, so I always want to, like, kind of block myself off from, like, meeting new people and stuff. And I've talked with my, like, therapist about this, but, like, it's one of the main reasons that, like, I self-sabotage a lot, is because when I'm meeting new people, like, um, I slowly start to be like, well, they're not exactly who they say they are. Like, they could be a different person. They could be like rude. They could be toxic. They could be like destructive to like my mental state or like my physical state. So I always try to be like very careful and cautious when I'm meeting new people.
Yeah, definitely. Which I don't think's a bad thing.
No,
Just
yeah,
give Yeah, just given the fact that so much has happened. Um, but yeah, I think there's definitely a line where you don't want to overdo it, because you don't want to ruin something good.
yeah, exactly.
Yes, I mean, I guess the first thing it brought to me was like, dang, she's already trusting me in what sounds like very important information. She like I hope she like really like I don't want to screw this up because I've screwed a lot of opportunities up. So let me give this a shot because it was just started off so wacky and zany from like the get go, and now, and I mean now our life is, God, our life is all over the place. Humbo.
Better, I would say.
Life is crazy, but it's getting better slowly but surely.
Right.
Yeah,
I think,
that's
yeah.
all it's about. That's all about. It's just making sure, like, as long as we get to laugh in some way, shape, or form throughout the days, like we'll make it. Like we can make that happen, no problem.
Yeah, and honestly, I just live for those little moments. Sadly, I mean, I wish my whole life was like recorded on a DVD that I could just watch.
Same.
Because yeah, there's so many like 3 years ago today, I wonder what I was doing just because it was probably a normal day, but I'm really curious how different things are.
Yeah.
Um,
There's no masks. There was no COVID.
right. But even more so, like, I think it's just great to appreciate the tiny things. Like, we just had dinner together.
Yeah.
Amazing. And then we just played the whisper challenge, which was so much fun.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's like those little things that I look forward to, like telling like our kids about one day and being like, our kids are gonna like look to you as like one of my brothers and like I think that's gonna be really cool because like, honestly, like we're not like true by blood family, but like, the relationship has grown to that point where like we do view you as family, so I think that's just special.
I have never thought of us as not, you know? Um, First of all, when everyone's like, "How are you related?" or "How do you know her?" It's so annoying to say, "My sister's brother's hu or my sister's husband's sister." Um, and it
Yes,
just came
it's so
it
weird.
came there's 2 reasons. It came to the point where I didn't wanna say that anymore, and we literally just grew up together,
Yeah,
and have done so much fun things together.
I
Um
literally I almost can't imagine, like, a time without you, like
Right, yeah, and I mean, half of the stuff we do isn't recorded or, like, photographed, which is okay
no,
because I don't think it always needs to be. But, yeah, I
so much
definitely
of
just
life is already, like, photographed or, like, talked about or there's a picture taken, and, like, while I wish that there were pictures taken for, like, every event that we've gone to or everything that we've done and seen, like, there's also, like, something special about, like, just having that between, like, us or just having that between, like, family and friends.
Right, yeah, and I think once you've been friends with someone for 7 years, they're basically family. Um, it comes to a point where it's like, I know you so well, and we're obviously not changing, you know?
Yeah, and it definitely seems different for y'all. I mean, like I've had issues with that adage of like so and so amount of years equates to family thing, but I think y'all's relationship is definitely something nicer than just like a friendship, and definitely much more and like just much cooler than like family. No, you guys are great. You guys bond well, and and secretly, I'm bisexual anyway. So if it was a problem, it's not a problem.
Oh my gosh, I am leaving. Bye.
Can't leave me.
Oh, man, I'm playing.
Okay, we should probably end this. Alright, guys. Well, that is gonna wrap things up for today. It was a pleasure to have everyone on here listening, even though the little ones had to leave because we got into some deep stuff. Well, we will see you as soon as we record again, but bye, y'all!